Can I just say, we went to Hawaii a while back, and we went on one of the bus tours, and the guy was talking about Hawaii, and they said basically what they came into Hawaii, a lot of Westerners, and basically destroyed a lot of their history and the whole 9 yards. And what they consciously did as a people, he said in the 70s, they basically re-educated.
That's right.
Their people. They re-educate their people around being Hawaiian. And so, and it worked as far as for, people love being Hawaiian, and full-blooded, it's hard to be full-blooded Hawaiian because of all the other stuff that's going on. And that's what really needs to happen.
From an educational perspective.
But I think we are one of the one group that was, not only were we taken from our homeland or colonized in our own land, but we were taken away from our own worshiping systems, and were even murdered and killed if we tried to assimilate any of the traditions that happen in our society. So a lot of these other people, they're able to overcome. Like I was talking to somebody from India, and they were colonized by the British, but the one thing that they maintained through all of that was their own religion. We haven't had ours, and I think that is the number one thing that we have to get back to.
Spirituality.
We really have to attack these churches. I don't mean attack. I don't want nobody to come looking for me, but I mean we have to engage these people and somehow motivate and encourage them to start teaching the truth doctrine, so that our people can find their way back. Because now these places are nothing but businesses. They collect money and they set up in the community, but there's no changes. They raise millions of dollars every Sunday in the black community. Where does it go?
And when politicians want something to happen in the black community, who do they go to?
They go to the church.
And give them the money to stop something from happening.
That's right.
Case in point, I'm on the Black and Brown Summit that's going to be held next week. And one of my jobs was to go after and try to get the African American churches to engage. They only gave me 10 to 12 churches to engage in this, and we got one. We got one. They don't return your calls. Everyone takes the information and say, we're going to sign up. I mean, this is for the restorative justice within our communities, with our people. Our African American and brown young men and women that are coming back into society that need that second chance and need things to be put in place for them. And the law does not set things up for them that way. They set them up for failure to keep them in the system. So, and the churches, I mean, not trying to be mean, but half the pastors in the pew have been in prison. I mean, wouldn't they understand? Why don't they get involved?
Well, if I may say, and I want to go back to what you're saying, that it's the young people are not interested in so many areas. And I say the reason why the young people are not interested is because we as elders have failed them.
Yes.
It is up to the elders to have a stance, to make a stance and reconnect with themselves and want to go back. That's what Sankofa means. You have to go back in order to go forward. You got to go back and fetch your roots in order to go forward. We don't want to go back. We want to say forget about it. We don't want to talk about what happened to us as a people and the Black Holocaust. Jews could talk about whatever took place, and they will continue to do that. Why? Because they don't want you to the world to ever forget what transpired. We want to forget, get over it. Let's not talk about it. That was 100 years ago, 200, 300 years ago. But you can't move forward first until you truly understand. And I hear people saying, well, we understand what happened. No, we don't understand what transpired. Many of us elders don't want to go back and talk and deal with that pain. So I won't say that it's the young people. They're the outcome of how we have failed and how we have not passed the torch of what has transpired.
Isn't our failure, though, our failure to pass this baton because we have been failed? We can't pass the baton that we don't have. We're coming out of slavery. When was it ever right since slavery so that I can pass the baton on to somebody?
But I think that there is some truth to that, and it's not. My grandfather was a slave in the state of Virginia. He died when I was 6 years old. My grandfather, and as young as that, I always remember him always constantly trying to teach us, get the land, control the land, own something. And so we can't say that was, I think that somewhere after that generation, we dropped the ball and started to being totally indoctrinated with European psychology.
Okay.
And from then on, we bought into this whole idea. And the thing about integration that we wanted that, well, let me just tell you, they wanted it worse than we did.
That's right.
They spent a lot of money. No rules or laws get passed if they're not supporting them with their money. They pushed. I remember because I was one of the products of being integrated into an all-white school. And they had to come over and almost buy us, offer us the world to get us to volunteer to go to a white school. We didn't want to go. And a lot of the people in my community didn't want us to have to go. But the rule passed, we didn't have no choice.
That's right.
You know, we were marched on these school campuses under, armed guard by the Army and the state police, And so we didn't want this. This was another way of them taking total control of everything that went into our heads. Because when we had all black schools, we still had opportunities for some people to come in who were proactive and try to give us some information that we weren't getting in the traditional school books.
Well, maybe we should say people in power, because Brown versus the
Yes.
Board
That's
of
right.
Education
That's
was
right.
that
Yeah,
was
people
us.
in power.
That is correct. That is correct.
Well, this reminds me of a fishing line, when you get it all balled up and everything, and we're trying to take
pull
it
it
back out. But I'm hearing this word restorative, re-education. These are some of the solutions. The values that your grandfather gave you seem to be the solution. Not the indoctrination of the colonial rule at that time or whatever it happens to be. So where do we go from here? Now, so we know that we have to talk to each other. We have to have some kind of a panel. Maybe a show like this can be the beginning of something. People can look at it, and all kinds of thoughts are coming in. But I think this issue around power and money is juxtaposed against spirituality and values. Which one would you go for? Okay,
Right.
Offer you $1 million or happiness and right order and balance in your life.
That's
Which
my
do you
aunt.
choose?
That's my aunt.
Ma'at, yeah. So maybe the principles of Ma'at, the right order and the balance, is the because see, when we are born, we're born with nothing. We're brought into this world, and that's the way we leave.
That's right.
So we know that's going to happen. We are all going to die. One of the footnotes also I wanted to bring out is that African American people are the only people in the that other people know were brought here as slaves. And so when they see you, they say, yeah, you're a doctor, you're a reverend, but you were also a former
Slave.
Yeah, slave. And so we have to get that monkey off our back as well.
That happened in the Caribbean. That happened in, there was even worse in many respects, and we don't talk about that. There was even slavery. The Arabs enslaved. They were there in Africa 1,000 years before the Brits came in. But we don't talk about that.
We don't talk about it.
And the reason why we don't talk about it is, in my opinion, is because the shame and the pain. And until we are able to deal with that pain, and it's not just with slavery. I think it was Dr. Joy Leary. She speaks about slavery in her book, Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, but then she also has a documentary which is called Post-Traumatic Slave Disorder. And so what is happening with black people here and on a global scale, we look at that 246 years of chattel slavery with no intervention, mental intervention. So you can't tell me that we weren't damaged psychologically and spiritually. So after that, we still got no intervention after slavery had moved on. And we're still dealing with those things. Even to this day, we're still dealing with the aftermath of slavery with no intervention.
Well, and I'll say being in the mental health field, there is intervention, but it's from the Western perspective for the most part.
you go.
And the issue becomes is that until we're able to heal as a community in the way that we want to heal,
That's right.
because we're still being imposed upon how society says that we want you to heal, not being able to use the community-defined practices that we have in our community to help with our healing. Other communities have been given the opportunity to heal, be it not only with reparations, land, casinos, whatever, some of that stuff, and the ability just to be themselves and not be under attack. Black folks are under attack every day, microaggressions
That's right.
constantly because of who people paint us to be constantly. The mental wear and tear of being Black in America is detrimental to our health. And people really don't talk about all this stuff because it's so heavy day in and day out to be Black in America.
And you're in the mental health field, and I
That's
am
right.
also. 98% of the people come into the clinic, they're African Americans. And I find myself having to make decisions about, you know, am I going to do what I know is the right thing, or am I going to try to maintain this job? Well, I've gotten up to be a senior now. Well, I don't call myself a senior, but I've gotten to the point where I don't allow that to influence what I'm going to do.
That's
And
right.
I've told them in board meetings that when people come into my office, they expect to hear the truth. And I'm going to give them the truth as I understand it. If that
That's
doesn't
right.
meet with your particular brand of what you're trying to issue out, then you probably need to get somebody else to do my job. But a lot of people, if you're young and you're just starting out and you're working in one of these places, you're a therapist, or you're trying to put food on the table and you're not
right.
concerned about that. For my money,
That's right.
most of America is 3 paychecks away from being homeless. So I'm already in Tent City right now. You know, so what can you threaten me with?
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
And I want to, you make a very valid point because I work with an organization at this very moment where they bring in homeless youth between the ages of 16 and 25. Some of them are still trying to get their GED. And they teach communication skills, social awareness skills, social development skills, but they want to teach or want me or anyone else under their control to teach it from a U.S.-centric
European
perspective.
perspective.
And I can't do that. You know, I have to tell the truth to these young Black men and brown people of why they are in the condition that they are in. And they're totally surprised. You know, I share with them Black Wall Street. I had a young man in my office 2 days ago. I cried with him because I saw his pain. He cried because he had never known the truth of the lynchings that took place with his people. He had never known that Black people, Black men and women were kings and queens. He's never heard that language. So in order for us, we have to teach our people. We have to build our own industries.
And our own institutions.
Oh,
too.
yeah. Well, what I've done, like in my office, when people walk in my office, the first thing they see on the wall is African flag. On this wall, there's Marcus Garvey. Over here is Malcolm X. Half of the people come in there and they say, well, who is that guy? They don't even know who Marcus Garvey is, so you can't expect them to go back as far as you're talking about. And I have to say, but what it does, it gives me the impetus to share with them information about this matter. And I've had a few clients would go and report to the people, Dr. Kweku was up there talking about Black power and Africanism, and I have to go and explain to them why I'm doing what I'm doing and why I'm saying what I'm saying. Because inevitably, they always get it wrong. They make it sound like I'm doing something that I'm not, like I'm trying to start a revolution when I'm actually trying to get them to understand that they're being used as a tool. Big Pharma, they want to keep them medicated and they want to keep them coming back. If I got a mental health disorder and I've been coming to see you for 20 years and I haven't gotten any better, there's something wrong with the service. And this is the message that I try to send.
And anywhere there's Black people, you have a high penetration rate in the mental health system. In Alameda County, about 40% are African Americans in the mental health system, and yet make up about 12% of the county population. And so when we're not allowed to provide the type of mental health services that we actually need, speak truth to power, take a stand and say, this is not working. Stop medicating our people with these medication that hasn't even been researched and tested on us.
That's right.
We basically are committing, what is it called? We're committing harm to our people, basically, because we are allowing, it's the same thing in medical malpractice. It's
Yes.
the same thing
It's
that's
the same
happening
thing.
in the mental health field, and a lot of us are going along with that DSM-5
That's
Oh,
right.
yes.
that
That's
is
right.
not addressing the serious concerns of our people. So again, I'm going to point it back to us.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
it is.
And you know,
It is us.
Yeah, we have to, as I said before, in my opinion, accept who we are as African people.
Okay.
We have to accept our spirituality as African people. We have to accept our culture. We have to accept our individualism. But we have to, and I have to say this over and over again, we have to go back in order to go forward. We as elders don't want to go back. I have 50, 60-year-old people that will sit in front of that idiot box and watch all these so-called reality shows, but as soon as I show you something that is conscious, you run. That's a problem. Why is it that you want to run from this, but you'll watch The Young and the Restless, you'll watch all these Grey's Anatomy and all these other things, white images. And I'm not saying that I don't watch TV. Very rarely do I do this. But why would I want to continue buy into something that is not showing me, teaching me something positive about
Healthy,
me?
yeah.
But and then the other thing I think, and people have a concern when I bring this up, but we are bicultural. There's no way that all the rape and stuff that happened within our during enslavement, a lot of us basically are mixed with European blood. We have brought into the culture. We've been educated in the culture. We live in the culture. So the issue becomes that it's hard for us to separate ourselves from our African and our American culture. And I think that's part of the problem, that there's pride, I think, in our African culture. Our American culture, there's concerns with, but for some reason we tend to want to look at our American culture more so than our African culture. And so a lot of us want to just be totally African, but a lot of Africans call us cotton pickers. So let's be real about it. We don't totally.
But you also have a lot of African Americans who don't want to be recognized as African Americans,
Exactly.
period. They don't want African attached to them at all because to them, African is ugly. African is not, acceptable in the society that we live in when you deal with the nappy hair or the natural hair and the natural look and our bodies aren't altered, just our natural features. And you do have a lot of people now going back to our natural features and embracing who we are, so
Well, yeah, but
more
when-
than we ever have before.
Yeah, but when you talk about multicultural, I quickly remind them of the one drop rule.
Oh, I was.
You know,
Thank you, thank you, brother. Thank you, brother.
you can look white, but
Thank you, brother.
that's one of the things that they fear, that there will be people among us that they can't identify who they are,
Yeah.
and they'll be able to move into certain places.
They're there.
Because like Obama, he's bicultural. But somebody else might move in there. It'll be another 1,000 years before another black man gets elected. You can bet on that. That's why they've been busy changing the rules and the laws. But they don't want us in their power broken positions at any level, because that's what they're afraid of.
Well,
Well,
we have to want it. It's
Yeah.
not up to them we have to go back and take it ourselves. And I'm not talking